Trench Crusade has had its campaign rule set updated to version 1.6.3 to match its playtest rule set version. We're going to take a look at the changes that have happened between now and the last time it was officially updated all the way back at version 1.3. Let's dive right into some of the new big additions, starting with more patrons. Just like the existing patrons, you pick who you want to follow when the warband is created, and you have the chance to roll for 6 unique skills for your elites. Starting off, we have the Temporal Lord, which is available to new Antioch warbands. His 6 patron skills are Firearm Procurements, which allows the cost of any ranged weapon, normally costing over 20 ducats, to have its cost reduced by 5. Melee Weapon Procurement. Any melee weapon that costs over 20 ducats can have its price dropped by 5. Armor and Equipment Procurement. Any piece of armor or equipment that costs over 20 ducats can be reduced by 5 as well. Mentalist Chemicals, which makes it so blood markers on a model cannot be added to injury rolls. Sniper School. Any model with this skill needs 1 less blood marker to cause a bloodbath on its ranged attacks. Or Special Assault Training. All melee attacks need 1 less blood marker to cause a bloodbath on this model. The next new patron is Mammon. Mammon can be followed if you're part of the Heretic Legion, or the Court of the Seven-Headed Serpent, Greed faction. And if you are the Knights of Avarice, you must follow Mammon. Taking a look at Mammon's patron skills, we see Money can buy anything. You're allowed to increase the limit of any weapons or equipment in your armory by 1. Unsecured Loan. Immediately gain 100 ducats once the skill is selected. Crooked Dice. Once per game, any model with this skill can re-roll all of the dice or any one single dice for one of its actions or an injury roll that it makes. Plutocracy. A model with this skill can form a fire team with a non-elite model. This fire team is also not subject to ending its turn if a risky action is failed by one of the models. Aureate Skin. This model basically just has its blood turned into gold, and every time the model suffers a blood marker, you add 5 ducats to your treasury. And Eternal Debt. Any Wretched in your warband cannot be lost as casualties. No matter what, the Wretched will make a full recovery after the battle whenever they're taken out of action. The last new patron we have is the Anti-Pope of Avignon. This is available to any Black Grail warband. Its 6 patron skills are Infect the Mind. At the start of the battle, you're able to select an enemy model and move it up to 6 inches in any direction. It can't be moved into melee combat, and it has to be in the battlefield and can't move through terrain, but otherwise, any direction. Eyes of Beelzebub. The model with this skill is able to perform an action on any enemy that's within 24 inches, in cover but not in melee combat. If it succeeds, the model is forced to move 1 inch by the owner of the model, and cannot be moved into melee combat and has to move out of cover. Silvered Tongue. A model with this skill can cast an action on anyone that it is in melee combat with, and force it to attack itself with whichever weapon you want. Swine Hybrid. Nice and simple, the character gets plus 2 inches added to their movement. Beelzebub's Wisdom. Any charge made against the model with this skill does not get an additional d6, just their base movement for the charge. And Feast on Disease. Any enemy that has at least 1 infection marker and is targeted by an attack with a model with this skill needs 1 less blood or infection marker to cause a bloodbath. Moving on to the campaign rule changes themselves, first we're coming up on scenarios. The early, mid, and end game scenarios have been modified a bit. Not all of the scenarios listed are going to be found in the 1.6.3 playtest rules, as some of them are still kinda being tested, and they have their PDFs in the official Trench Crusade Discord. If you don't want to go looking for them, you could always just randomize your scenario if you land on one of these. Speaking of randomizing, every stage now has randomized scenario as its roll for 6. Moving along the rules to the warband threshold value, some clarification is given that each warband's own threshold value depends on the number of battles they themselves have played. Clarification is also given that the Papal State variant will always have minus 200 ducat value compared to their threshold, not just on the first battle. Not all is grim for the Papal States, however, because it's also been clarified that during the reinforcements phase, the Papal States gain 4 glory points every time they reinforce. Go wild. A new campaign rule has been added called Dismissing the Wounded. After injuries are determined, any warrior with 2 or more scars is able to be dismissed from the warband. Clarification is also given between the early, mid, and end game stages of the campaign that if 2 players are on different stages, the warband with the lower stage will determine which stage is played. Joining campaigns has also been modified a little. Instead of simply having their warband threshold matching other players, new campaign joiners will have +1 experience per battle played based on the number of battles of the most played warband. All of these experience points will be divided between their elite models as they see fit. And lastly, further clarification is given for winning the campaign that the player with the most victory points at the end of the campaign is declared the winner. Now let's check out the post-battle changes. During the trade sequence, you were able to sell any of your gear for half of their ducat value. It's now been clarified that you can also recoup half of the glory value from these items. Moving along to injuries, quite a few injuries have had clarification and updated grammar, and the only real change of note is the captured injury rule. Now, if you're not able to come to terms with your opponent negotiating for ducats, the unit is immediately executed, instead of being held hostage. No matter what, they still lose the items they had. Experience and advancements have been changed a little bit too. Instead of capping out at 2 dice, models can now have 3 dice for their promotion rolls as long as they've performed a glorious deed. Promotion dice also now have fail stacks. After 5 failed promotions in a roll, the 6th will be guaranteed success. If you ever succeed in a promotion roll, the counters reset. We also see some small changes to the list of units that couldn't be promoted before, and the Iron Sultanate's Lions of Jabir and the Homunculi can now be promoted, but they're in the limited potential list. Moving along to the exploration area, it's now clarified earlier in the rules that all warbands start with the reroll exploration skill. It's also been changed that at over 10 battles fought, warbands are now able to do rare and legendary explorations instead of just legendary. Moving to the exploration locations and events themselves, we see a couple changes. First is the common 16 roll, the Sniper's Nest. The Court of the Seven-Headed Serpent previously didn't have any weapon listed for this event, but now has the Ophidian Rifle listed. Over on the rare table, we see that Rare 17, the Book of Golems, clarifies that the homunculi that you find will have the keyword Golem added. And for Rare 19, the Ruined Holy Building, instead of buying an item that costs 10 glory or less, you're able to cash in for just 4 glory points. For the legendary location table, we see Legendary 6, Battlefield of Corpses, now states that the 2 items you can find from this event cannot cost any glory points. Legendary 16, the Treasure of the Holies, also adds clarification at the end that you're able to open the strongbox during the trade step of post-game. And lastly, Legendary 30, Golgotha Tektites, states that instead of modifying armor, new Antioch warbands are able to exchange this bonus for 15 glory points worth of items from their own or the Trench Pilgrim's armory lists. The last part of the campaign that we're going to look at are the glory items. There are some changes and there are some new ones, so let's dive right in, starting with the changes. Firstly, we have the Cup of Filth from the Black Grail. This item, which allows +1 dice to be added to dashes on elites, or 4 of their thralls, has had its glory point cost changed from 2 to 4. Its limit has also been changed from 2 to 1, and it's no longer consumable, resetting at the end of each battle, to be used by new units if you wish. Rocket-propelled grenades have also been changed. They've had the pretty substantial change, stating that whenever they're shot, the activation of the model firing it is ended. Knighthood has had its cost changed. This ability, which allows you to gain +1 glory points at the end of every battle, now costs 4 instead of 5 glory points. The Donkey's Jawbone weapon sees the same change, and this item, which allows you to add +2 dice to injury rolls, now only costs 4 glory points instead of 5. The Executioner's Axe sees its cost reduced from 7 to 6. We also see clarification that units with this item cannot make more than 2 attacks per activation with it, even if they have bonuses which would allow otherwise. Armor of the Fly also sees a reduction in its cost, going all the way down from 11 glory points down to 7. The Sultanate Grand Canyon continues the trend of getting cheaper, as it goes from 12 glory points to 10. The last glory item that we see changed is Beelzebub's Embrace, which has gone from 20 glory points all the way down to 15. Now that we've gotten all the changes out of the way, let's take a look at some of those nice new items that have officially been added to the rule set. First, we see the Restraining Muzzle, which is part of the Court of the Seven-Headed Serpent's armory, but at the cost of ducats. Here, it costs 1 glory point. We also find for the Court of the Seven-Headed Serpents, Cruel Helmets. These cost 2 glory points, and you're limited to just 2, and they can only be equipped to your Wretched. These helmets act as standard helmets, but any model wearing them start the battle downed. During the first turn, if they're attacked before they are activated, they suffer an extra blood marker from the first attack to hit it. We see the Bestial Skin Cloak added. This again is for the Court of the Seven-Headed Serpents, is only for elites, is limited to 1, and costs 6 glory points. Once per activation, the model wearing it can either add +1 dice to melee attack actions, injuries caused by melee attacks, or dash actions. At the end of its activation, the model gains a blood marker. It's also noted that if a Hunter of the Left-Hand Path wears this cloak, it loses its Oracle Beast cloak that it naturally has. The court keeps rolling with Corrector, the Great Tome of Hell. This costs 8 glory points, and can only be placed on the Sorcerer. Even though the Sorcerer equips it, it makes it so for the entire warband, a single Goetic power is able to be added to any model in the warband, even if it's not from the proper sin that your court follows. You still have to pay for the cost of the Goetic power, but otherwise, it doesn't get the same sort of limitations, such as being from the different sin like mentioned before, or a model's limit for its number of powers it can use. The Lordship of this world is added for 9 glory points. Again, this goes to the Court of the Seven-Headed Serpent, and it can be equipped on the Praetors or Sorcerers with a limit of 1. When a model enters the battle with this item, it makes it so that after deployment is finished for both players, you're able to move any piece of terrain that's 8 inches or smaller up to 6 inches in any direction. You can't move it out of the battlefield, and you can't move the terrain if one of your models is on it. If the terrain ends up touching or squishing, so to say, any enemy model, they're able to take that model, put it aside until your movement is done, and then redeploy their model. The last new glory item is for, you guessed it, the Court of the Seven-Headed Serpents. It's the Piece of Silver. This costs 12 glory points, can be assigned to any elite, and you're limited to 1 per warband. When a unit with this item enters the battle, you'll have a reserve of 3 dice. They're all automatically set to 6. During the battle, whenever any roll is taken except for injury rolls, you can use one of those dice to guarantee that one of the dice will display as a 6. You have to do this before the roll, and you roll the rest as normal. It should also be noted, you can only modify 1 dice per roll, and that if the model that has this item is taken out of action, that reserve of dice is also removed. 2 words. Trench Dog. No walls, no permits, Trench Dog. The last item, or unit, so to speak, are the Trench Dogs, which have officially been added to the campaign rules. Trench Dogs have a limit of 1 dog per warband, and any warband can recruit them. They cost 1 glory point. By default, with no modifiers, the dogs will have 8 inches of infantry movement, no modifiers to ranged or melee attacks, have no armor, and have a base size of 25mm. Dogs don't suffer penalties for fighting unarmed, they're not elite, and they cannot become elite. The base ability that every dog has is 4 paws. Dogs can take dash actions or jumping and diving charge actions with +1 dice. They also can't climb up straight surfaces. You are able to add some extra modifiers to the dog, the first being, for a cost of +1 glory point, the dog is able to form a fire team with any model in your warband. Besides the fire team ability being available for purchase, we also see specific types of dogs depending on your warband. All of these cost an additional glory point to modify your dog. For any warband other than the Black Grail or the Court of the Seven-Headed Serpent, we find the guard dogs. Infiltrators cannot be placed within 12 inches of a guard dog, and if a dog is within 4 inches of an enemy, that enemy can be charged by your models even if it's out of sight. For New Antioch, we see Mercy Dogs. Mercy Dogs carry medikits on them, which allow friendly units to use the medikits on themselves if they're within 1 inch of the dog. If a unit is downed, the dog is also able to drag them. It moves at half speed for both its normal movement and its dashes, and if it drags a unit away from melee combat, it does not trigger the free attack for a retreat. Good Lord Almighty, the Trench Pilgrims have martyrdom dogs. The dogs are equipped with a martyrdom device, like any of your prisoners could be. You can detonate the dog, which Jesus Christ sounds horrible coming out of my mouth, and it causes a blast of 3 inches from the dog's location. Models within 1 inch of the dog roll their injury with +1 dice, and the dog itself rolls 4d6, adds all of the dice together to determine if it survives or not. Lastly, we come to the Hellhound. This is available to the Black Grail, the Court, and the Heretic Legion. The dog is immune to any attacks with the keyword fire, and its own attacks have the fire keyword added onto it. It also has +1 dice for all of its melee attacks. For those who follow the Patron Mammon and for the Black Grail, the fire keyword in this case is replaced with gas. Those are all the changes that we see for the Trench Crusade campaign rule set from official version 1.3 up to the new one, 1.6.3. Leave a comment below letting me know what you think of the rule changes and if there's any more changes you'd love to see. And be sure to subscribe if you want to catch the change logs as they come out.